Hello, and welcome back. I'm Robert Hayes. If you're somewhere around 58 years old and you still head off to work every single morning, I'd like you to sit with one honest question today. It's a question most people never say out loud. Am I still working because I truly need the money, or because I'm afraid of what happens when I stop? If that question makes you even a little uneasy, then you are exactly the person I made this video for. Give me the next few minutes, and I'll show you why age 58 is one of the quietest, most important turning points of your whole financial life. And I'll show you why crossing it without a clear plan can slowly cost you the very retirement you've worked so hard to build. Let me start with a trade that changes the moment you pass 58. Every extra day you spend at work past this point, you are handing over something you can never earn back. You are giving away time in exchange for something you may never actually use, which is simply a larger number on a statement. I sat with a gentleman not long ago who put it perfectly. He told me he felt guilty about retiring, like he'd be draining the very savings he'd spent 30 years carefully growing. And that feeling is incredibly common. When you've watched your accounts climb year after year, the idea of finally spending them down feels almost backward. But as we talked, something clicked for him. He realized that the entire purpose of all that saving was never the balance itself. It was this exact moment, the moment he gets to stop trading his days for dollars and start living on his own terms. That is the real heart of retirement. You are buying back your own time. Here's why this trade only gets more expensive as the years go by. Time becomes more valuable as you age, and not just because the calendar keeps moving. It's because your health and your energy quietly begin to shift. The things you might love at 58, walking a coastline, long bicycle rides on a cool morning, full unhurried days with your grandchildren, those do not get easier at 68, and they certainly don't get easier at 75. I often say that retirement isn't really about having more time, it's about having good time, quality time, while you still have the vigor to enjoy it. Push it off too long, and you risk watching your best years slip past while you chase one more milestone. You can always work longer to save more, but no amount of money buys those years back once they're gone. Now let me put a frame around this, because retirement is not only a money decision, it's a balancing act between four resources: your time, your money, your health, and your energy. Think about how life usually flows. When we're young, we have plenty of time and good health, but very little money. So we trade the first two to build the third. That's completely normal, and it's how most of us got here. But here's the part people overlook. Once you actually have enough money, continuing to work doesn't add much that's meaningful. You're simply spending more of your limited health and energy to grow dollars you may never even spend. In the end, this was never a contest to see who finishes with the biggest account. The real question is how much of your retirement you actually get to live while you're still healthy enough to love it. I see the same pattern again and again. Someone says, "I'll just give it a few more years to pad the cushion," and I understand the instinct, it feels safe. But those few extra years are often the most golden ones they have left. By the time they finally give themselves permission to walk away, they've quietly spent down their energy and their health for experiences they can never reschedule. If the math already says you're financially ready at 58, then the goal shouldn't be squeezing out a few more dollars. It should be reclaiming your time. Here's where some folks still hesitate. They tell me, "Robert, I might be ready, but have you seen the markets lately?" And this is a misunderstanding worth clearing up. A lot of people believe the economy, interest rates, inflation, a rough month in the market should decide when they retire. That simply isn't true. If your plan is built on solid fundamentals, things like steady growth, rising income from your investments, and flexibility, you don't need perfect timing. Markets have always done what they do. They rise, they fall, they adapt, and over the long run they tend to grow. A patient, long-term investor doesn't hang their whole future on this year's headlines. And when you pair that with a flexible withdrawal approach, one that gently adjusts your spending as conditions change, you're no longer depending on luck or timing. You're depending on a system designed to support you in any season. Now, let me name the real reasons so many people keep working past 58, even when the numbers clearly say they don't have to. it usually isn't about money at all. It's about identity, and it's about fear. After 30 or 40 years of a title, a routine, and a sense of purpose, it's genuinely hard to picture who you are without it. People ask themselves, what on earth will I do with my days? Will I still feel useful? Those fears are completely valid, but here's the good news. They are also something you can plan for and solve long before you ever retire. Most of the worry, the boredom, the lost routine, the missing sense of meaning comes from focusing on the problems of retirement instead of the solutions. When you plan ahead for how you'll fill your time, stay connected, and keep a sense of purpose, those barriers shrink dramatically. And when you look at what retirees actually say years later, the truth becomes very clear. In all my years, I have never once heard someone say they regretted retiring too early. But I've heard a great many people say they wish they hadn't waited so long. That's the recurring lesson. Looking purely at the richness of your life experience, retiring earlier almost always delivers more than working longer for a slightly bigger balance. So how do you make this transition with confidence? It starts with a complete financial review, not just a glance at your balance, but a real confirmation that you're retirement ready and a clear map of where your income will come from. Next, plan the human side, how you'll give shape and meaning to your days, whether that's travel, a hobby, volunteering, or family. Then secure your healthcare, especially if you're retiring before Medicare begins at 65. You'll want coverage in place outside of an employer's plan. Medicare.gov can help you understand the timeline. Finally, review your lifestyle and adjust your spending so it comfortably fits your goals, without stretching your resources thin. Retirement income planning isn't a project you get to redo, so it's worth working with a qualified fiduciary advisor who can build it right and adjust it as life changes. Let me be clear before we finish. This video is for education only. It isn't personal, financial, tax, or medical advice. And this channel isn't affiliated with or endorsed by any government agency. Always confirm your own situation with a licensed, professional, and official sources like SSA.gov and Medicare.gov. So here's where we land. Working past 58 can quietly become one of the most expensive trades of your life, paying with time and health for dollars you may never use. But with a solid plan, a flexible strategy, and a clear sense of purpose, retiring at 58 doesn't just make financial sense, it feels right. If this gave you a little more clarity, consider subscribing so you don't miss what's next. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'm Robert Hayes, and I'll see you in the next one.